Yeah, like this idiot in a live chat says, flat out create a new NSDAP Nazi party. Yeah, great idea, dude. This is what I'm talking about. We should just make another Nazi party like Hitler. It's just like this low IQ knucklehead stuff. It's just got to be driven out. It can't be allowed to dominate. There must be a sustained effort at the very top to suppress that brutally and with discrimination, with prejudice. You know, then what is the movement to be based on? Is the movement supposed to be about, you know, being resentful? Because I think resentment is bad, actually. Who will make the new symphonies? Who will make the new cathedrals? Who will invent the futuristic cities, the new aqueducts, who will write the poetry? Are these people that are going to be grumbling Matt Walsh's bitching about anti-white racism? No. No. The people that are going to build our future for us, the people that are going to build our revival civilization, they're going to be people that need to hear a different sort of message, an uplifting message, a message that looks upward, that points upward.
For the last several weeks, Nick Fuentes has been popping off, getting millions and millions of views. Today, we're going to be watching a clip that I think perfectly illustrates why he's been popping off, why he's been blowing up on social media. So my name is Joshua Haymes. Welcome to the Daily Dose, Christian conservative cultural commentary, where we apply the word of God to the world around us. And let's jump into it. So I'd never really followed Nick Fuentes before. I didn't even know what he looked like before just a few weeks ago. But for the last 4 weeks, all of a sudden, maybe you've seen this, he is everywhere, all over different clips, all across different platforms. And that tells me something. All right, that tells me that his message is resonating, and it's resonating with a lot of people. So over the past 3 or 4 weeks, I've probably watched like 20 to 30 hours worth of clips from this guy, whether it's from his show or from other commentators that are commenting on the clips from his show. And my conclusion, my prediction is this: Nick Fuentes is not going anywhere, all right? He's not just going to fade away into obscurity. He seems uncancelable, right? And that is much to the chagrin of the Republican establishment. I really do believe that Nick Fuentes represents like a general direction, a mood, a general direction that our country is headed right now, these America First ideas. And now this is not a blanket endorsement of the man. I actually have many moral objections with a lot of what he has to say, a lot of his message, but I think it's incredibly important for us as Christians to understand why he's blowing up. Why is he blowing up right now? Not only that, we also need to think about how Christians should respond to the meteoric rise of Nick Fuentes. So let's jump into the clip from the video.
Thomas Cruz sent $50. Comments lit you up because PPL think you backpedaled on race and are a bit about moving past anger. What's your take on that sentiment? To me, it's LARPers wanting you to be something unrealistic, while are taking a stance normies are more willing to consider openly. I think current we've been using the opportunity. La La Land 10 tenths, by the way, Ryan Gosling is so me.
At the end of the day, when it comes to that, we can't always be trying to please the most aggrieved element. You know, it has to move past a politics of resentment. It has to be more than that. So, yeah, I mean, look, people are going to be upset. People are not going to get it. But my job is to lead. My job is not to fill and listen, you know, I know that I'm on a run right now. I'm very popular right now. And what happens when you get popular for one or another thing is then people start expecting you to be a people pleaser. And I'm not here to be a people pleaser. I'm here to be a leader. That means I'm right before everybody else. That's what it means to be a leader. It means I'm right. I'm right before everybody else. It means I see the whole vision. I am going to take you to the promised land. And you're not always going to get it. And you're not always going to like the way it sounds. And sometimes it's a little messy or clunky or something. But, you know, I never tell you, trust me. I never say, trust me, believe me. I say, watch me work. Have I ever said, no, guys, really, you need to trust me, and here's why? I say, you're with me or you're against me, but in a year, we'll see who's fucking right. I've always said that about everything. You know, in 2018, we were feuding with Richard Spencer and the right stuff, and people wanted me, oh, you got to debate Richard Spencer. I said, you know what? Let's just see where we are in a year. I said, let's just see where we are relative to each other, and we'll see who wins. You know, there's a lot of talk and people talk and you listen to what I say and you form your, you know, opinion on it, even though you know half of what I know for the most part. I always say, don't believe me. Don't trust me. I don't need you to believe me or trust me. I need you to watch me work. I will act. You will react. I will act. I will drive the conversation. You will be left a year later wondering how I predicted it. I will tell you the future today. I will pick apart the things that are incomprehensibly complex to you. You will watch, you will listen, you will react, and in a year, you will say, how did he get it? How did he predict it a year in advance? How does he know all this? You will be left wondering. So, when I say what I say about race, which is we have to move beyond grievance and bitterness, if you take that as backpedaling, it shows you really don't understand what we're about.
Okay, first observation, we'll do this really quick. He is moving past the politics of resentment. That's the first reason that I think he's blowing up. And secondly, you can just watch the way that he communicates. Look at his rhetoric skills. He is incredibly confident. He's incredibly charismatic. And he is positioning himself as a leader. And he's not apologizing for anything. I think men, especially men right now, are looking for other men who will grow a spine and lead out with conviction. Okay. Now, like I said, I have some strong disagreements with many of his views, but you can't watch that and say, okay, you can't watch that and deny that he's got charisma. He's got spunk. You can see why people want to follow him. He's saying, look at me, just watch me work. I'm not asking you to trust me. That's huge. He's saying, I'm going to get up and do it. Okay. So that charisma draws people in. And I think what's really going on here, one of the big reasons he's blowing up is because he's saying, I'm going to move past the politics of resentment. He's reading the room. He's saying there's all of these influencers right now that are making their name by stoking that resentment, being, oh, you're so oppressed, young white man. Oh, the boomers have destroyed your life. Oh, and he engaged in that, but he's moving past that. Why? Because he's seeing the rotten fruit from that. He's seeing that it's literally just stoking resentment and division, and he's saying we need to move past that. I'm going to say this is his attempt to go mainstream. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. And I actually do believe it's a push in the right direction. Okay? So let's see what else he has to say.
And you never did. It also shows you're just low IQ, to be honest. Because bitterness and resentment is without content. To say that the movement needs to be generative as opposed to resentful, it has very little to do with the actual essential principles. It has more to do with the tone, with the attitude. It has more to do with, how the sentiment is expressed. And for people to say it's backpedaling to hop off of anger, grievance, then what is the movement to be based on? Is the movement supposed to be about, being resentful? Because I think resentment is bad, actually. Resentment is not healthy. It can be warranted. It can be valid. You have a right to feel resentful, but you don't have a right to be motivated by resentment. You don't have a right to harbor and feed resentment and to be animated by it exclusively or even mostly. So, so to say that's a backpedal is just ignorant. What people want to hear, people just always want fire and brimstone. What you got to understand about the mood of the country now is people, especially on the right wing, they want to be pandered to, and the shape that the pandering takes is always more extreme, always more ridiculous, always more. Who's the most? Well, I don't believe anything's real. Well, I think all black people need to go. I think they're all pedophiles. I think they're all transsexual, pedo, Freemason, satanic, Illuminati freaks. So
real quick, what's interesting is like I said, I haven't followed him closely, but I watched enough clips. I've seen him say some really, truly objectionable things that would fall into a lot of that stuff that he's talking about. But what he's saying, he's not apologizing for what he did before, but he's implying that I'm moving past that, okay? And he's realizing that if you want to go mainstream and you actually want to have a large audience, an audience that you can actually wield influence, you got to leave that stuff behind. And I think this does represent a maturing, like I said, I haven't followed him for very long, and I'm not blanket endorsing him, but everything he just said right there is, by and large, it's a movement in the right direction. It's a movement in the right direction.
There is this toxic element on the right, this toxic pole. I don't think actually that the truth is always more conspiratard, always more hateful, always more exclusionary, always more prideful, resentful. It's a competition of who could be the angriest white man. I'm not trying to win that competition. What I want is for the Republican Party to recognize the distinct ethnic interests of the white people and the heritage of America. And I think there is a way to incorporate that into a bigger vision that is generative, that is propositionally positive. But I'm not in the running for the angriest white man competition. Who could be the angriest, the most resentful, who could make the most excuses? Who could say if the shoe were on the other foot the most times? Who's going to capitalize the W in white the most? Who can beat their chest the loudest? I'm not running in that competition. Okay. So, look, we want to be the center. We want to win. We want to endear the entire country to ourselves. We want to build a coalition and rule America eventually. And for that to take shape, we need everybody to be on board, okay? We need it to become undeniable, like that what we're saying is so true and so obviously the vision that it's just like a foregone conclusion. When they say we're all Keynesians now, we're all liberals now. One day we need to say we're all traditionalists now, or Groypers or nationalists, whatever shape it will take. And we also need to attract a certain group of people. We need to attract people that are high in openness. We need to attract people that are innovators. We need to attract people that are progressive, that are forward-thinking. Who is going to build our society for us? Have you ever thought of that? Who will make the new symphonies? Who will make the new cathedrals? Who will invent the futuristic cities, the new aqueducts, who will write the poetry? Are these people that are going to be grumbling Matt Walsh's bitching about anti-white racism? No. No. The people that are going to build our future for us, the people that are going to build our revival civilization, they're going to be people that need to hear a different sort of message, an uplifting message, a message that looks upward, that points upward.
Now, I totally agree with that idea that building a movement on a politics of resentment, it can't create anything. It has no creative power. It's just destructive. And he's picking up on that because that's what, from what I understand of Fuentes, that's what his whole movement has been. Basically, it's been this kind of obscure, like overthrow the establishment kind of movement. But he's realizing that now he has gained a massive audience, a massive following, and he's thinking through like, okay, what does it look like to actually build something positive? Now, I'm glad that he's thinking that way, and I think ultimately that's going to lead him to deeper and more mature conclusions by the grace of God. But he's not going anywhere. And his shot at Walsh, I don't know if that's fair. I mean, he's done some pretty massive. He's gotten us some pretty massive W's in the culture with What Is a Woman. That was huge. That was absolutely huge. And so is he right about the grumbling white man phenomenon? I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if that's a fair accusation for Matt Walsh. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Do you think that's a fair characterization of Walsh? I like Walsh, but yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys on that. Let's see what else he has to say.
An ascendant message, and to enlist those people, to get those people on board, to get buy-in with those people. Look, they're of a different nature, a different stock, caliber, whatever you want to say, and they're going to need a different kind of message. So if the message is always going to be grumbly, knuckle-dragging, did you capitalize W in white? I'm white, I'm pissed off. It's going to be a very narrow appeal. It's going to appeal to a very narrow substrate of people. And honestly, how much mileage are you going to get out of that kind of a crowd? There's a certain crowd that all they want to hear is that, and their mind becomes filled up with that.
You see, I think it's likely that he built his following predominantly on the backs of those people, right? And I'm not even faulting him for it. I think that's where he was at personally. One of the reasons people really like this guy is because you can tell he's being real. Like, he's being authentic. He's really telling you what he believes, right? So I think he built his following on the backs of those guys, but I think he's realized he's matured that to a point and realized that's not a good way to be. That's actually a destructive lifestyle that doesn't build anything, right? So I think, yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon watching him. I think even with videos like this, he's actually going to end up, by the grace of God, I pray this is so, bringing some of these guys out of that like dank lifestyle, that lifestyle just full of bitterness and resentment. I pray that that's so, and I pray that he continues to move in the right direction, because I would say this represents a movement in the right direction. Okay.
Their mind becomes filled up with grievances and complaints, and and that's for them, that's politics. How many of you have any creative solutions to any problems? Can you name one? How many of you have any creative solutions to any problem? A national security problem, a tech problem, a business problem. We all know what we're against. Do you know what we're for? How are we going to make all this work? Do we have any ideas? I'm interested in people that have ideas. I'm interested in people that are thinking about those questions rather than being filled with grievance, resentment, you know. And we need a cadre of political operatives that are going to be ideologically rigorous and aligned. And yeah, you could say those are more grievance-oriented people. We're going to need a lot of very political people, very ruthless people, lawyers, people on political campaigns. We need operators. And yeah, many of them are going to be tough and they're going to be pissed. We're also going to need inventors. We're also going to need scientists. We're also going to need artists. We're going to need to enlist another kind of clientele too. And to have a truly visionary leader, you need someone that can kind of have both. And by both, I don't mean like this and this. I mean, you need to kind of have a vision where you take the grievance and you translate it into a vision. You take the righteous indignation, which we're all feeling. We're all feeling negative. We're all feeling the slow decay, the death of our civilization. It's oppressive. It's an oppressive energy. We all feel the kind of hopelessness that we're out of options, backed into a corner. And the question is, how do you take that sentiment and transmute it? It's like an alchemy. How do you, and not actually, but how do you transform that into a positive vision? How do you take a negative and turn it into a positive? Turn it into a public works program, turn it into a cathedral in the city square. How do you take a problem and turn it into a solution? Take a grievance, a negative, I'm against this, and turn it into I'm for this. You know, and conservatives are very good at telling everybody what they're against. What are they for? You know, the conservatives have turned into, and this is tough love, you're not going to want to hear this, but we as a movement have turned into, just like the left, a politics based on resentment only.
He is absolutely right. He is absolutely right. And for him as one of the biggest influencers in the far right, okay, and I would say for him to wake up to that reality is absolutely huge. It's absolutely huge. And so, guys, I know some of you guys are going to be watching this video and be like, I can't believe anyone would ever watch it. The reality is young men are going to flock to him. It's just, it's like Thanos. It's inevitable, okay? It's going to happen. Now, my hope and prayer is that the Lord would shape and mold Nick Fuentes into a godly man who pursues righteous, biblical legislation and solutions to our cultural problems. He's Catholic. Hey, but maybe we can reel him into the Protestant. I mean, our nation was founded as an Anglo-Protestant nation, so maybe we can get him on that. Regardless, he's headed in the right direction, and he's moving away from it seems, from the immaturity that he's kind of been known for. He wants to go mainstream, and the fact that he is making this move on purpose. Like he knows that if I can leave some of this behind, some of this stuff that I've been known for behind, I've got enough of a following now that I could go big. And he is going big. So that's a huge part of the reason why he's going viral right now.
You see a lot of this on the right wing. What did Ted Kaczynski say, characterize the left wing? He said the left wing is a pathology. It is characterized by feelings of resentment. I feel like there's a phenomenon on the right that is this way too. Yeah. I watch every Matt Walsh show. It's just resentment. Just resentment. Just chip on the shoulder, thinly veiled anger, impotent fantasies of violence. And, you know, what can you do with this? You know, there needs to be a leader that steps up and says, you know, what's actually a solution? How do we move forward? We can't turn back the clock. We can't undo what has been done. That doesn't mean we can't make changes, but this idea like we're all going to pretend like it's the 30s again. We're all going to pretend like it's the 20s again. The people that we don't like, we have fantasies of violence and we're going to make them shut up. And then what? And then what happens the next day? You know, I actually think there's a lot of good things about this country. I like Hollywood. I don't like necessarily the messaging of the movies, but without question, Hollywood is one of the wonders of the world. Silicon Valley is one of the wonders of the world. You know, this is a great country. We have great things. How do we make it work? How do we make it better?
This is a winning message. This is a winning message. So many people are building their platforms on outrage porn, right? But this idea that actually think, like, we have an awesome country, how do we make this work? There's just no getting around it. That's a winning message. If he goes with this and really does leave behind some of the immaturity, there's no telling where this guy's gonna go. And some of you guys hate that, some of you guys love that, okay? Right now, I'm in the exploratory phase. Like, I firmly disagree with several of his views, okay? And I think that at any point that he contradicts the word of God, I contradict him, okay? But there's just no question that he's an incredibly talented orator. He's incredibly charismatic. He's incredibly intelligent, and he's going to make an impact. And my hope and prayer is that we would actually get Christians. We need a Protestant version of this, right? That's why we need to study what's going on, what's working, what part of his message is resonating, all right? And why don't we have more Christians stepping up to the plate to actually make a difference in politics? Well, I'll tell you why. Because for decades, Christians have been taught to totally bifurcate the spiritual and the secular, okay? The secular and the sacred, okay? Jesus is just Lord of your church and your quiet time. He's not Lord of the state, but Jesus is Lord of all. And we are desperate for young men who have their homes in order, who love the Lord Jesus Christ. We need men like that to grow a spine and to go hard into politics and culture. That's what we need. That's what we need. And so for some of you guys, I highly recommend, some Christians need to really be paying attention to this guy. Other people, not so much. Okay, part of this conversation needs to be how do Christians respond to the rise of Nick Fuentes? Should we be listening to him? I think some people probably shouldn't, honestly. I think there's enough like poison pill. There are enough poison pills in so far that I've seen in his messaging and the clips that I've seen for it to be unwise for some of you guys to consume a lot of his content, particularly if you don't have your own house in order. Some of you guys, we can substitute political knowledge, right, cultural commentary for applying the word of God in our own hearts and our own lives, right? We can think, because I've learned, whatever facts or data points or, whatever's going on in the culture that I can communicate to my buddies at work or whatever, that somehow that's a substitute. I'm really making a difference in the world, but you're not. But you're not. Your marriage is a wreck. Your kids are, going wild. You're not loving your family well. You're not building anything substantial. You're not getting out and touching grass. Some of you guys, for those guys, I would say you guys need to take a minute. Dude, Jordan Peterson, clean your own house. Like, for some of you guys, you're not ready to just consume a bunch of this content. You should be reading like marriage and family books on Canon Press or something like that. Like that's true for a lot of you guys. But other guys who are getting your house in order, who are maturing in the faith, who are solid, you guys should be consuming Nick and Matt Walsh, a whole slew of cultural commentators. You really should be, so that you can take the meat, eat the meat, spit out the bones. So you can understand our cultural moment and apply the word of God to it. Like, we need politicians, charismatic orators like this, with a spine, who are saying, I'm going to lead. Like, that's what we need. We need that. And so, yeah, for some of you guys, I would probably leave it alone, honestly. And for others, as you consume content like this, I would do so in two ways. One way, I would do it in community. I would do it with other Christians. A man seems right till another comes and examines him. And so making sure you're not just alone in your basement or whatever, consuming this content and going and red pilling on every single new red pill. Okay, that's important. Do it in community. And brothers and sisters, Christians, do it with your pastor. Like, bring your pastor into the equation, because he knows your heart and he knows your soul, and it's his duty to shepherd you. And some guys like OD on red pills. Okay, and in fact, I'm going to show one more clip that'll really illustrate the dangers of constantly consuming this kind of content. But let's finish up what Nick has to say before we get to the dangers of Nick Fuentes. All right.
And so, to say that's a backpedal, it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm actually against backpedaling itself. I'm against pedaling forward. I am a progressive. We should have visions. We should be kept awake at night, not just about how angry we are in this pit in our stomach. We should be kept awake at night also by our dreams. You know, do we have dreams? Do we have the audacity to dream about a better future? Or do we just have these kind of revenge fantasies where we hurt the people that hurt us in our perception? And don't get me wrong. I mean, we're going to have to put some people in jail. Like, yeah, that part of the dream is that, yes, people will be deported. People will go to jail. But what else do you do on top of that? You know? So, anyway, so that's really the question, because I look at a lot of these people like an Elon Musk, like a Peter Thiel, and say what you want about them. And yeah, on some level, they are like cutouts, excuse me, for the CIA or intelligence. But what you envy about the Silicon Valley guys is they're innovators. What you envy about, say what you want about their politics. Yeah, they're pro-immigration, they're pro-free markets, they're too pro-free markets, they're too libertarian. But the venture capital mindset, I don't hate the mindset. They're entrepreneurial. They invest in risky things. They invest in ideas. They make magazines. Like they're doing things. We should do things too, you know? And that's my challenge to all of you. So, and like I said, I'm going to lead by example. We will show you the better future. We will show you the vision. We'll show you the way. And we'll endear people to our side, not just because we make some complaint about Israel, but because eventually we will have the vision. That's the goal. That's how you take it to the next level. Yeah, like this idiot in a live chat says, flat out create a new NSDAP Nazi party. Yeah, great idea, dude. This is what I'm talking about. We should just make another Nazi party like Hitler. Oh, yeah, true.
White said $11. If Vance wins 2028, what are the main things we will get from his administration?
This is really important. This move is really important because right now he's dumping on that comment, the guy who commented that in his live stream, for expressing the kind of views that he has expressed in the past. But he's realized that it's not helpful, right? And I think it's actually, like I said, by the grace of God, I pray that he brings some of these guys out of the dank right into those dark, like Hitler-loving spaces, and like just demolishes it, all right?
It's just like this low IQ knucklehead stuff. It's just got to be driven out. It can't be allowed to dominate. There must be a sustained effort at the very top to suppress that brutally and with discrimination, with prejudice. Okay? Because it's embarrassing.
Guys, like that represents a shift from what I've seen from the clips that I've seen from old shows and that sort of thing. Like, that represents a development. That represents an intentional step in the mainstream direction. He's saying we got to squash that Nazi Hitler stuff. It's not helpful. So we'll see if that sticks. If that sticks, I think that is generally trending in the right direction, in a good direction, because he's let a lot of people, I think, down that dank right rabbit hole. And maybe he can grab some of these guys out. I hope and pray, and pull them in the right direction. Now, he's got his own problems, but getting out of that dark space is really important. So real fast, before we close this down, I want to go to another clip that represents the dangers of Nick Fuentes. All right, I teased that at the very beginning. I think there's a lot that he got right here. I think this clip explains why he's blowing up, why he's going mainstream. It seems to be an intentional direction, and some very intentional moves on his part. But I wanted to show a clip that I saw right before I got on that illustrates the dangers and why some people really shouldn't just start following him super closely and make him their guy. Okay, and here's the clip. Yeah, and in this clip, it's a short clip, but it illustrates the dangers that I'm talking about. He is commenting on Disney adults, grown adults going to Disney and spending their time there. And one of the people commented on his live stream, and they were wanting him to dunk on Disney adults. What do you think about Disney adults? And he kind of goes back and forth on what he's saying about it. But I want you to pay attention to what he says right here.
Yeah, look, Disney adults, leave them alone. Bless their hearts. I wish I was so easily amused. Don't you wish you were so easily amused? I hate everything. 98% of the things I see make me furious. 98% of the things people say, the things I hear, the things I see, make me angry. God bless them. They get a Mickey Mouse shaped ice cream for $15 and they're happy as a fucking clam. They're happy to fork over the money. They go to Epcot, they drink all the different alcoholic beverages, Hello. They do. James Charles is there doing the Epcot. God bless him.
You know, I mean, Nick does have a point. Like, once you become red-pilled, or, I mean, once you become J-pilled, you're kind of like, you kind of don't enjoy stuff anymore. Like, consumerism kind of loses its, like, fanciness, you know? And so he kind of has a point. I mean, if somebody is so innocent enough to really be obsessed over something that they love, I mean, who are we to judge them, you know? We can't be these cranky old men that just like yell at people for loving stuff they enjoy. At the end of the day, I mean, they're people. Let's listen into what Nick has to say.
I wish I was that easily amused. I wish that that's all it took was to put on the Mickey Mouse cap and a backpack and get my little t-shirt, but I'm a miserable chud. I am a miserable misanthrope chud that will never be satisfied. So, I mean, you pick your poison. What is it better to be? God bless them.
That is telling. I'm a miserable chud. Okay, what's he saying? And that other guy who commented, the one who posted this clip on YouTube, Based Lore, and he reiterated it. Like, when you become quote unquote red pilled, I realize the irony. That's my podcast, Reformation Red Pill. But when you become overly red pilled, J pilled, as he said, you begin to you stop enjoying things. Like, you become miserable. And that brings me to what I want to close this video down with is 3 dangers, I think, from over consuming this kind of content. And it's just very simply 3 things. You may start believing lies. All right, you may start believing lies because Nick and others like him are really right on a lot of the diagnosis that they're bringing forward, that they're putting out there. But they don't get everything right. And because they get enough right that you trust them, then you can just kind of blindly follow them. You can blindly take what they say without really holding it up to the light of Scripture. That can happen. You start believing lies. Number 2, you become nasty. Like, some people really just become nasty. And even in like we showed earlier, like the guy in his comment that was saying, we need to bring back Hitler and the Nazis. And he's like, shut up, dude. Like, that's the kind of nastiness, right? That really, really hates Jews. That really, really looks down your nose at blacks. Okay? That's the kind of nastiness that can come about from just this blind overconsumption, just mindlessly, like, you outsource your thinking to podcasters and cultural commentators. That's not good. That's really bad. And that's a real danger. It's a real danger for a lot of people. And thirdly, it'll just make you miserable. And that's what we see. I'm a miserable chud. That's sad. And it's such a juxtaposition to the clip we just watched, right? Where he's saying, watch me, let's go, we're going to do it, there's beautiful things in America. But then he goes on to say in this clip, like, I hate going to Disney World. In fact, let's just watch it. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pathetic and it's sick and it's weird, but let them have their theme park. I can't stand it. I don't like going to theme parks because of the people. Because the people hurt me psychically. That's unironically, because I've been to Disney World, when I was a teenager, and what made it really bothersome was the people. With the backpacks and the strollers and the, cargo shorts and the carrying on. It was the people that looking at them, it just made me upset. I just put like a knot in my stomach just looking at them, living with them. I didn't like it.
That's what I'm talking about. That is not a political strategy that wins. Actually hating people. I hate the people. I hate the people in their backpacks and their cargo shorts. Yeah, what we need, if we want to go back, he talks about wanting a Christian nation, okay? I want a Christian nation, but if we have a Christian nation, what are the 2 greatest commandments? What are the 2 greatest commandments? To love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and and to love your neighbor as yourself. To love people, okay? And that is the message. And that's what I'm talking about, though. Whatever red pills that Fuentes is on is making him, as in his own words, a miserable chud. That's not the kind of language. That's not the kind of personality. That's not the way to win. Like, we should be full of the joy of the Lord all the time, even when our enemies are winning the day. All right? Even when it seems that all is lost, we know that Christ is our ultimate hope. And we put our hope and our faith in him. That's what we need. That's the winning message. I think a lot of the diagnosis, as I said earlier, he gets totally right. Right? He is trying to destroy our liberal egalitarian establishment. And he doesn't want, like right now, Democrats and Republicans, they're all liberals. And he wants to bring down the liberal establishment. Yes and amen. But what are we going to replace it with? As he was saying in the clip before, we must replace it with true biblical Christianity. That is the nation building ideology, right? It's not an ideology, it's our faith. It's the religion that built our country. And that's what we need. So with that, we're going to leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Trying to get out daily videos, so like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.